Oh Lord, what did I do?
You hear me?
I hope not.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, my screen is tiny, so I'm trying to get my screen back up.
I see you and I hear you.
Well, I don't. Why is my screen is not coming up?
Sure, but you sounding good to me and I can see you.
But I don't see you all.
Okay. All right.
I guess you hear it.
Can you hear us?
I hear you. I just got the HABD logo. I'm trying to get where you are. Okay, I think I'm getting back. Now can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
And you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. The meeting of the HABD Board of Commissioners is now called to order. We'll start with a moment of silence. All right, roll call. Vice Chairman Hood.
Present.
Commissioner Pantazis.
Present.
Commissioner Thompson.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
All right, we got everybody here. Okay, adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as read, as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. The agenda is adopted. All right, recognition of HABD employee of the month for January, February, and September. Ms. Foster?
We'll have Ms. Calandra Jefferson Mitchell, VP of Human Resources.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So I'm going to start with January. Tawana Mockdor is currently employed as the Human Resources Specialist at our central office under the Human Resource Department. Ms. Mockdor has been with the Housing Authority for over 2 years. She exemplifies strong leadership and innovation, as well as takes the initiative on completing tasks independently and in a team setting. Ms. Mockdor goes well and above and beyond the requirements in the quality and quantity of her job duties in the HR department. Her work ethics is dynamic. She is very creative and flexible and possesses excellent organizational skills and attention to detail. She jumps right in to handle difficult and extremely overwhelming tasks to make sure the employees have what they need. She constantly receives positive feedback from other department managers and employees regarding the help and support she provides to them. Ms. Mockdor is unquestionably an excellent candidate for this award, and we would like to introduce the January Employee of the Month, Ms. Tawanda Mockdor.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm honored, and I want to continue to do the work that I'm doing here with HABD. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mockdor. Commissioners, are there any comments that you would like to make for Ms. Mockdor?
Just thank you. I know it's been challenging for everybody this year, and so thank you for your perseverance and doing what you've been called to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
certainly agree. We appreciate all your hard work throughout the tough year, but you guys really made the organization continue to move, and we appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. And I know it's hard and it's going to get better soon. So continue all your hard work. And thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. I just appreciate your smile. You seem like you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. Just again, just appreciate your hard work, dedication to the house.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you.
So next, commissioners, we're gonna go with the February of the month.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Fanny Dardell is currently employed as a resident opportunity and self-sufficient coordinator at our Illaton Village site under the Special Projects and Support Services Department. Ms. Dardell has been with the Housing Authority for over 3 years. She has provided outstanding customer service by going above and beyond her required job duties. Ms. Dardell was very instrumental in the relocation process at Loveman Village. During the Phase 2 redevelopment, she was the primary contact to ensure residents' needs were met. She successfully assisted 90 residents by coordinating their move-in and transfer processes from their old home to their new home. Ms. Dardell demonstrated teamwork and success of a special project. She is recognized for her significant contribution at HABD's mission and goals. We would like to introduce the February Employee of the Month, Ms. Fanny Dardell.
Ms. Dardell, you in the house? Ms. Dardell.
Adele about that business. She working.
Well, hey, we get thank you, Ms. Dardell, and I appreciate all your hard work and what you do for the agency, and that what you do definitely is essential in my eyes. Making sure that our residents have a smooth transition when they're being relocated, and that's definitely frontline work. And so we just appreciate you and all that you do on behalf of the agency. Any other sentiments from the commissioners? All right, go ahead.
So next, commissioners, we're going to recognize the September of the month. April Smith is currently employed as the asset manager at our Tuxedo Terrace site under the Finance and Administration Department. Ms. Smith has been with the Housing Authority for over 2 years. She is recognized for her exceptional quality of work, output, and efficient use of resources, and for improving the efficiency and effectiveness for development operation. Ms. Smith was very instrumental working with the IT staff on Yardi Voyager set up for the tax credit and PBRA with properties. She worked tirelessly to manually input data into the system for all of Tuxedo Terrace residents and doing what was necessary to ensure timely and proper setup. Ms. Smith also demonstrated team efforts by helping her fellow asset managers and other employees navigate the Yardi system. Her dedication and her strong commitment to the success of this special project makes her a great asset to the agency. And we would like to introduce the September Employee of the Month, Mrs. April Smith.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Miss Lewis.
Hey, how you doing?
Ms. Smith, you're welcome to say a few words. The floor is yours.
Thank you guys for selecting me as Employee of the Month. If I could just be candid, I don't do great with spotlight. I don't like the attention on me, so I like to stay in the background. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Commissioners, anything would you like to say to Ms. Smith? Well, hey, Ms. Smith, we just thank you for all that you do, especially during this time, this difficult time, during this pandemic. And we understand in your role that sometimes that you are customer facing, and we understand that that's not easy. And so we don't take that lightly, and we thank you for all that you do on behalf of the agency.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, does that conclude all of the employees for the month?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have the approval of the minutes for special meeting August 14th, 2020, regular meeting September 17th, 2020, and special meeting October the 27th, 2020.
Move to approve all three.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so the minutes are approved. Special meeting August 14th, regular meeting September 17th, and special meeting October the 27th. All right, old business. Is there any old business? Any old business? Hearing none, is there any new business? Is there any new business? One thing I would like to point out, I know Ms. Foster will probably mention this in her report, and I definitely don't want to steal your thunder, and I see it in your report, so never mind. All right. Interim President, CEO's report, Ms. Foster.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Attorney Moore, and all those that are present in person and on Zoom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The Interim President CEO's report. HABD is continuously working with testing agencies to perform testing monthly at the community sites. We encourage all residents to take advantage of the opportunities when they reach your location. Also, HABD is partnering with the Alabama Department of Public Health to provide flu vaccines. Information will be provided this month. HABD and the CPAB are partnering to distribute PPE supplies to every household in all the communities. A schedule will be issued next week through social media and door-to-door flyers. It is our goal to reach every community before the Christmas holidays. To discuss our operational update, the right to return residents of Freedom Manor has successfully returned to their units. Currently, the waiting list is open to fill the remaining vacancies. Southtown Court relocation is underway. The support services and Section 8 team are working diligently to meet the deadline of January 2021 to get the residents moved. HABD hosted a virtual landlord fair and is scheduling tours for the residents that selected the voucher option. Housing Operation is prepping all vacancy units for the residents that chose another public housing unit, as well as our incentive sites. Southside Development Company will provide an update today on the overall development. Mr. Foreign, our Director of Public Safety, started hosting virtual town hall meetings at all the communities to discuss safety measures. HABD is partnering with BPD, Sheriff Department, and CPAB to host an Operation Give Back to provide coats and toys to our youth, infant, and to ages infant to 13 years old. Also, HABD is hosting the first virtual 27th Employee Recognition and Service Awards, which is scheduled Friday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. And congratulations to Ms. Peggy Hayden. She is our Freedom Manor resident. She is partnering with the Cancer Awareness Network, Inc. through a grant to assist HABD residents on how to attend virtual health visits. Ms. Hayden will begin the pilot telehealth program with the residents at Freedom Manor. Her goal is to extend the program among other sites, and HABD will assist her along the way. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Foster. Are there any questions or comments concerning Mrs. Foster's report?
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Just a couple of quick questions, and they may be addressed later in the Southtown development update, as well as maybe some other reports. But Do you have any numbers on the relocation stats for Southtown as well as the occupancy of Freedom Manor right now?
So at Freedom Manor, we currently have 67 units that are vacant that are currently being filled. We're currently in process of accepting applications. The waiting list is open, and so the staff at Freedom Manor is making those calls to fill those positions as we speak.
Do you have any idea of when you expect those spots to be filled?
I don't have a definite date, but we're hoping maybe before the end of this year that they'll be filled.
Okay.
It's depending on the availability of the residents once they get selected, the time they want to move in. So
Okay.
we're working on the waiting list.
And as to Southtown?
As it relates to Southtown, I do not have the numbers, but we do have information that we can provide to the commissioners as it relates to how many has moved at this point. I can send that to you before this week is out, but I don't have it today, and I don't think that we'll be able to. But we can actually provide the report. Miss French is here. She can give a preliminary number during the Southtown update if that's acceptable.
Okay, that'd be great. And just, next meeting too, it'd be nice to kind of keep an eye on both of those, just updating us on the numbers.
Yes, sir. We'll do.
Thank you.
Are there any questions, any other questions concerning Mrs. Foster's report? All right, hearing none. I just want to say congratulations to Ms. Peggy Hayden and what you're doing for the community, and any way that the board can help assist you in this effort, please don't hesitate to let us know and reach out to us, okay? Thank you. All right, financial services, Mrs. Foster.
At this time, I ask Celine Kashama to come forward. She's our accounting manager.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I'm here to present the financial statement for Lawrence, Section 8, and business activity as of September 30th, 2020. And I'm going to start with the Lawrence program. And as you see on your screen, I'm going to explain anything that has a number beside it. The first one, I don't see that. Sorry, the thing is not working. The first item number I'm going to explain is the mud inspector salaries. It is under budget because the position has not been filled. The position is still vacant. The second number is the insurance proceeds is under budget because we have not received the money that's from the insurance company. We are doing the work, but the insurance money has not been received yet. The third line is the legal fees. It's still under budget because right now we are not really processing any evictions, and most of the invoice will be paid once we start processing the evictions. Number 4 is the resident service. Okay, number 4, the resident service. The tenant participation is under budget because so far we have only 5 sites that have asked and received the stipend and so forth money for the fiscal year. So once everybody is back and we start processing everybody's expenses, this plan is going to go where I need to be by before the end of the fiscal year. Okay, the second financial statement is the Section 8 financial statement. I have 2 budget line items that I need to explain because they are outside the 10% threshold. The first one is the utility, the electricity. It is under budget. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's the gas line. It's under budget because the winter has not really started yet. And once winter start, maybe this line will go up where it needs to be for the fiscal year. The second line item is the software maintenance. It is under budget because we pay the maintenance fee once a year, and it's usually paid in February. So until we pay it in February, we are going to be under budget. But once we pay it, everything is going to go back where it needs to be for the fiscal year. And then I have how much we have in the business activity as of September 30th. We have $6,740.94 as of the end of September 30th. Those are the financial statements that I have for September.
So I have a question, Ms. Celine. When we were talking about, you were discussing the sites that you said there were only 4 sites that have recommended their participation funds.
Yes, we have received, have submitted the request and have received the money for July, August, and September.
Okay, and I know that Commissioner Pantazis and I think our compliance officer was kind of working on some things to make it, I guess, a little bit easier for our residents and our the resident leadership to be able to receive those funds.
Okay.
Not certain where we are in that, but I would definitely like to see more of our sites request funds. We got how many sites, Ms. Foster? 14. We only have 4 that requested the funds. I'd like to know where the vacuum is there, why these sites are not requesting the funds.
Well, I mean, for us, as soon as we receive it within a week, we provide the funds. But
I was going to state that just ensure that Ms. Kidd, she's working with each resident community council to verify that they got all their documentation in place. And I know there was one item that they was having difficulties with is with their receipts. So I shared with her that we can waive those by allowing them to bring in their bank statement to reflect that if they made those payments reflect on their bank statement, we can use that as the loss of receipts or some receipts that they have for so long that faded out. But just to verify that those purchases were made with the resident council funds.
All right, very good. So the resident services is giving guidance to the leadership as to how they need to submit the request.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Thank you.
any question on the financial statement before I move on to the charge-off?
I just have a couple. Thank you for your report. Just one question, and I think you went over it. I just want to make sure I understand it. And I'm just looking at page 22 of the PDF. I think it's the first page of your report. And under the revenue section, it looks like we're down a pretty significant bit on our revenues due to operating subsidies and tenant rental revenues. Are you relating all of that loss simply due to the eviction moratorium?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the revenue on the tenants and the other tenant revenue?
Yes, it looks like there's about a $3.6 million variance in the tenant rental revenues, and then a $23 million variance in the operating subsidy.
Oh yeah, that's for the fiscal year, because on the budget, and then you have the budget variance as of now. We are actually over.
Okay, so at this point in the year, we're actually outperforming what we normally would be doing?
We are exactly where we need to be when it comes to revenue.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to move on the charge-off. We are requesting charge-off for the month of September and October 2020. For the month of September, we are requesting $31,833.78 for write-off for all the sites. Of that, $30,357.78 is rent. Maintenance charge is $2,001 even, and making it $31,833.78. That's what I request for charge off for September 2020. And do you want me to go ahead and do October too, or you have any questions for September? Because I have 2 months do we need to write off, September and October.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You will just approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the month of October, we are requesting $19,552.40 to be written off. Of that, $13,206.81 is rent. Maintenance charges were $7,190.59, and retro rent was $679, making it $19,552.40 for the month of October 2020.
All right, that's for September and October.
Yes, sir.
All right, if I can entertain a motion to approve the charge-offs.
I got a question. If we can go back up, I'm sorry I missed this earlier. Under protective services, I know we got a big variance there as well. And you might have mentioned this, I just missed it. But can you speak to those variances under protective services? That would be page 23 of our packet.
Okay, on protective service labor, there is nothing charged whichever one employee who the works of security, but his money doesn't come from this line. It's spread through all the sites. So until we hire somebody on that position, this is going to be still zero. And then, of course, the labor go hand to hand with the benefits, so that's why we don't have anything on that one. And then the same for the contract costs. We have not received or paid the invoices from the city for up to the September. I saw some invoices coming, but it's going to be processed maybe in October. No, now we are in November. So until we get those invoices and paid, that's what this line is and looks like it's under budget, but by the end of the fiscal year, we are going to be where we need to be.
Okay, so we're just waiting on invoices.
Yes, we are waiting on invoices.
Yes.
Okay.
To add to that, the city was doing an audit, so that's why they were delayed on sending us those invoices. So once they get those in, that'll be paid.
Thank you.
All right, if I can entertain a motion to approve the charge-offs for September and October.
So moved.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Yes.
Charge-offs are approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, housing operations, Mr. Foster.
Ask William Blankenship, VP of Housing Operations, to come forward, please.
Good afternoon, commissioners, guests, everyone. Good to see you.
You too.
Today for Housing Operations, we have one board action request. This is to seek approval for the 2021 flat rent schedule for public housing. Each year, HUD updates its yearly fair market rents across the nation, and housing authorities are required to update their flat rent schedule as well, based on 80% of the fair market rent. So what the flat rent schedule is the maximum amount a resident would pay in rent at any site based on their income. Of course, residents are also allowed to use their income base, which is 30% of the resident's income, and allowed to choose the lower of the two. With this, there's a schedule of the new 2021 fair market rents and a list of what the HABD flat rent, which is 80% of that, would be. with that schedule. Do you have any questions for me on the flat market rents? 2021.
Y'all forgive me. Didn't we vote on this or something like this back in September?
I think that was the Section 8 housing choice voucher.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Blankenship, do you mind, is this a increase from last year, or can you kind of speak to the difference in? Obviously, this is tied to HUD's.
A couple of the bedroom sizes went down a couple of dollars this year. I don't have last year's with me to compare that, but there are one or two that did go down a little bit.
Did any go up?
A couple did, yes. Most of them will go up usually by about $30 or $20 from one year to the next based on that. But again, I'm sorry, I don't have last year's with me. I'd be happy to provide you with that though.
Did we, and you know, part of this is just explaining, making sure I'm correct on how you came to these numbers. Did you just take the same numbers percentage wise as last year? Or how did, you know, kind of what difference in decision was made this year versus last year?
Okay. Well, HUD releases, again, the fair market rents yearly across the nation. So the current fair market rents are listed right there on the schedule, which is $817 for a studio or $871 for a one bedroom. We multiply that times 80%, and that gives us our 80% flat rent amount.
Blankenship, if you don't mind, can you share the chart on this?
And that 80%, you don't have any discretion on that part of it.
No, we don't. This was based on directive in 2014 by HUD and the United States presidency. They signed into law the Appropriations Act of 2014, and Section 210 requires us to do this yearly based on 80% of fair market rent.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, what am I supposed to click? Can you see it? I don't, there we go.
There it is. Coming out.
There we go.
All right, any other questions? If not, if I can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that item's approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Holidays.
You too.
Well,
All right, assistant housing in Section 8, Ms. Foster.
Ms. Candy Drake, VP of Assisted Housing.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today I have one item for board approval, which is the revision to the Section 8 administrative plan. These revisions relate specifically to the Section 8 waiting list and its administration. HABD recently converted to new software, which is Yardi Voyager. With this software, HABD is now able to conduct a lot of its processes electronically and more efficient. So now I will go over all the proposed amendments, and if you all have any questions, just let me know. Please note that all text with strike through signifies deletion, and all text with red denotes additions. Okay. So on the first page, it just denotes and adds the electronic means for us to be able to accept applications and do our application processes. It crosses out applications made in person. As we haven't done that in person, we've always had to mail the applications back to us. And it just states applications for families requiring reasonable accommodations, the elderly and disabled may contact the Section 8 office once the public notice is made available to the public and during open enrollment to obtain an application in the means that is best feasible for them. In the past, we hadn't done that, so what we did now, although we're still doing it electronically, we are giving the families an opportunity if they need those accommodations to contact us, and we'll mail them the application or email them, whatever way is best feasible for them. And as you can see, some of them is just rewording, updating verbiage and things like that. Where it says closing of the waiting list instead of application taking, you know. The public notice will state in detail when the waiting list will close. If there's a change in the date and or time of the open enrollment period, an additional public notice must be made available to the public with such notice. It states taking out the minority and put all media, just different small things. I'll give you guys an opportunity if you would like to read over it or if you've already done it. If you have any questions, just let me know and I can elaborate on it. The third page just kind of changes the numbering system. Right there. The next page tells more about the electronic purposes of the waiting list, which we will do the lottery system. The lottery system is basically where HABD used the randomized system through the Yardi Voyager system. And what they do is this time we allow all applicants the opportunity to apply. In the past, if we had a number that would have cut off, which is, for example, 1,500, we accept the first 1,500 applications and those families make the waiting list. With the new system, we allow everyone to apply and everyone gets that same opportunity to be on the waiting list. Once the application date and time closes, the system will automatically generate from that group who will make the waiting list. So that way it gives families that may require reasonable accommodations or additional time just because they wasn't first, it doesn't not make them be a part of that option to make the waiting list.
Mr. Drake, may I ask a couple questions real quick?
Yes, sir.
As to the entirety of these changes, have they been approved by legal and confirmed that they're compliant with our HUD obligations and other legal obligations?
No, they have not been went through legal compliance. They just went through our regulations. You know, I just look through those regulations and make changes according to that.
And I also add that we also had a discussion with HUD to verify these changes were appropriate.
That's correct.
Okay, so it has been at least informally approved by HUD in the new changes?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, is there any reason why we didn't send this to legal for review?
In the past, I haven't ever sent any changes to the administrative plan to legal in the past.
Okay. There's just items in here that would, to me, touch on legal issues, as far as disability and compliance. So I would, I think it's important that we make sure that we're doing the best possible in that regard. So in the future, I'd at least like that to, not everything, obviously, but if there's certain issues that are sensitive of nature like that, I think we at least need to give it a look.
Well, Commissioner, if you got some concerns, and we, that's something that we can send to legal and have them take a look at just to be on the safe side. I don't have any problem with that. I would support that if that's something that you felt that, in your professional opinion, needs to be done. Then I would support that wholeheartedly. For legal to at least take a glance at it to make sure that everything looks okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you guys are covering all the bases. I just, if we're making something policy and it just needs to be as good as possible. So that would be something I would at least like to have done. It also, I noticed in the preamble to the approval, there is a section where we can send it to legal, and it doesn't appear to be that we did that. So that was a little bit concerning. I also noticed that Ms. Lewis and myself were supposedly in receipt of this, and I don't think we were either, other than for the board meeting. So I just want to make sure that we're covering the bases before we go and approve these things. one other just minor question, and that is when under the applying for assistance section, notice you have the 2 weeks prior to the waiting list opening. Is that language that was taken from our current policies, or is that something new that was added? And is there any kind of, do we think that's enough time, or was there any analysis as to why we included the 2 weeks?
Well, that's one of our current processes that we do. And so we try to put all the processes that we're doing and have been doing in writing. HUD does not tell us what time period to do. They just say reasonable. And 2 weeks is kind of where we send out appointment letters 2 weeks in advance and things like that. So we just kept with the 2 weeks prior.
Do we have any idea of whether that 2 weeks has been enough time for families to get into those units, or are we having occupancy issues that might, be somewhat due to that only 2 week period?
This is for the public housing, the Section 8 waiting list public notice. So this is stating that we would give the public 2 weeks notice that we will be opening up a waiting list, not them moving into a unit.
Sure. I mean, I guess my question though is has there been any analysis as to whether that 2 weeks is enough?
I would anticipate that it is.
Usually our numbers supersedes the numbers that we're looking for. So it gives, I would say yes to your question, because when we just say we put it out and we're looking for 1,500 participants to be added to the waiting list, we get 3 times that number with this notice going out in a 2 week period.
Okay, that's great. Then that makes sense then. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
And for the past, just as a follow-up, in the prior waiting list, we got 10,000 applicants. And so yes, sir, it is.
Seems like 2 weeks is plenty of notice then. That's good.
Yes, sir.
And so I do want to add, Commissioner Fantastic, we will forward this information to Attorney Moore for review, before we add it permanently to our admin plan.
So I have a question concerning, I think the language states about you want to omit the in-person application process. So I guess what was the thinking behind the elimination of the in-person application process, and what are the pros and cons of having an in-person, somebody coming in to do an in-person application?
Sure. In the past, it has been in this administrative plan, but the Section 8 department hasn't accepted applications in person. So my goal is to update it to what our current processes are. Since I've been in this position, I've been going through the administrative plan and making sure that our processes that we do are reflective in the plan that we have. But also, from my understanding, accepting applications in person just creates an exhaustive flow of traffic and things like that. As Ms. Foster stated, and I stated earlier, our application process is excessive. Even when we do applications online, people still come up to our offices and our public housing sites and anywhere that's an HABD location. And just them being able to complete those applications, generally the application period is 3 to 5 days or 3 to 7 days. And so you're talking about thousands and thousands of people coming into those offices and all the offices within that time period.
Well, but my concern is if your process is you're not receiving applicants to do in person, I guess you're not receiving a whole lot of people that are coming in to do in person.
Right. Now we aren't. That's correct. But I was updating the policy to reflect what we do. Correct.
But if if you remove the language, then you're making it, I guess, illegal or not a part of the process to do an in-person application. So someone may want to walk up and deliver the application. You have some people that sometimes they just don't trust the mail or what have you, and they want to make sure that their application gets there. So for those people, I wouldn't want to put in a rigid process where if they deliver their application, then you guys turn them away and say, well, we can't accept your application because it's not in the policy.
Understood. Another reason why we don't do this is because with HUD's rigorous auditing purposes, We have to have like proof of delivery and things like that. So when those applications that are mailed in, because we are still accepting applications through mail for reasonable accommodations, they have to be date and time stamp. So by them getting delivered in the mail, that's kind of like certification that when we get them, you have that postmark date from the post office and also our date and time stamp from when we receive it in our offices. So it kind of has made our auditing purposes for the waiting list kind of seamless. And so we've been able to get, good scores also on that as well, as opposed to someone that comes into our office, and a lot of people say it, a lot, that they may come into the office and turn something in and it got or something like that. But that's kind of like we have receipt or confirmation of everything that comes in because it was postmarked and things like that.
Yeah, well, I'm not really knocking the process. It sounds to me like you guys have a fluid process that's working. I'm just concerned about
accessibility.
Right. You may have that, elderly or other people that they just want to feel like they just want to hand deliver that application. And I just don't want to just completely eliminate that out of the policy just in case you have some folks. And you may have staff members that just may want to, and I'm sure you guys, if somebody came and delivered the application, you would accept it. I really don't think in my heart you would turn anybody away. I don't.
But we really haven't ran across that situation, but for reasonable accommodations, we don't. So maybe we should change the language and put for reasonable accommodations, we will accept, or applications may be made in person at the Section 8 office for reasonable accommodation.
I was going to ask, is it possible just to give like one day where if that was happening, that would be the only day? Or what makes it the easiest way for you to do that if we were to accommodate that particular opportunity? Is it to say the only day that we would be able to do that is, on a specific day, and that way any traffic that was coming for that could come on that day and you could have a process for that day only? Or is it to say reasonable accommodation? Because reasonable accommodation for a lot of people is a lot of different things, right?
Right.
So I'm just wondering if it's better to be more determined, have a determined date or day within the process that could be for in-person.
We could do that, it's an option, but then if we do that, then if we get a person that may require reasonable accommodations on another day, and it'd be kind of cruel to turn them around on the next day or the day after that, even though the open enrollment period. So I feel like that'll kind of get into the, a little touchy subject. But if we change it and make it any time that the period is open, that we'll accept it from them, then maybe that, I don't know. That's just my recommendation, though.
I think one thing that we can consider, and I don't know if anyone in Zoom can hear me because my laptop just went completely black, so I don't know if it's still up or not, but we can consider allowing them to drop their applications off and just do a timestamp, make sure there's a timestamp on their desk so they can do that. And also what we have done is install the kiosk systems there for those that can be able, when we open up to the public, they can be able to have them to come into that system to fill out that application. And once submitted, and I'm not sure if it allows them to, when it's submitted, it gets a submission date on that, when it's submitted through the kiosk or not, I'm not sure, but that's something we can kind of consider, accommodating everyone when they want to bring their application in.
One thing that I'm kind of looking at this, I think is it the language that Chairman Davis is concerned about that's been deleted, that the applications may be made in person at the HABD?
Right.
If that's the language that we're worried about, then earlier in the document it says applications will be accepted at a location and/or through electronic means. So I mean, basically, you're still saying you can do both, right?
That's correct.
So, I guess what I'm saying is this document still allows you to do both. And I don't, know exactly the process that's occurring right now, but it sounds like it gives you the flexibility to both have it online or via kiosk or electronic means, but also for pretty much however way you see fit to do it in person as well.
That's correct. And it was just kind of cleaning up some of the verbiage in the prior policy just to make it a little bit more cleaner. And
so you were looking to strike some of that language, is what?
Yes.
Okay, right.
So the part with the strike through is what we would like to delete, and the red was like what we would like to add.
I guess my point is this language doesn't appear to actually change your ability to do it any way you want to. So to me, as long as, you know, the process is still in place to accommodate people in person, this document still allows you to do that.
Well, hey, you know, if that's the president's board, I'm fine with it. But you know, if you can accept the application in person, then why do you want to have it deleted? Why do you want the language taken out if you say that you will accept the application in person?
Because the language that I added pretty much says people with reasonable accommodations. And so HUD kind of goes into definitions and their things what reasonable accommodations are. And then, of course, for the elderly and disabled. The goal was not to have everyone that apply in person. Because of the software that we bought, we wanted to take advantage of it. And the idea is to anyone that has access and the ability to apply online, we would like them to apply online. However, if they can't, they're unable to and things like that, and they require reasonable accommodations for any reasons that they're not able to apply online, then we have the option to do that. So the goal is to get the applications online.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure we're taking in consideration your concern here, because it looks like you can still get them in person, particularly, but you now kind of have to ask for it to be in person. Are you concerned that that's going to turn away too many people?
I'm just concerned about accessibility. I'm not, you know, I'm just concerned about, you know, what if you're not elderly? What if what if you just want to drop it off? I mean, what if you just want to hand deliver it? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be disabled. What if you just a person that wants to hand deliver a document to, you know, to the resource? I just don't see a huge issue. You just had somebody that wanted to hand deliver it, even if they weren't disabled. But you know, if the board is pleased with with this document, I'm fine. I mean, I'm just expressing my concern. I'm not going to hold it up. But I am concerned about the accessibility of the the language.
Also, if I may add, I think, well, I know I was tasked with the notion for applicants and residents and participants to be able to check their statuses online and to not have to come into the office more. And so the software that we bought gives those residents and applicants the opportunity to check their status, how far they are on the waiting list at any given time. They also are able to update their address, their income, their household members, and their contact information online. If we can push those that are able to apply online, then they're able to check those statuses. If they don't apply online, if they have the accessibility to, then they're not able to make those changes themselves. So this was this was created to push those that are able to apply online, so they have more access to where they are on the waiting list, the estimation of when they're coming up on the waiting list, and things like that.
What if we just added, some language outside of this, the reasonable accommodations provision, and just said that, all applications will be accepted, maybe even where it says will be accepted at a location or through electronic means. Maybe clarify that the normal procedure or the standard or default procedure is to apply online or via electronic means, but upon request, a location or an application can be accepted at or on premises, wherever you define that to be.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we can definitely do that, and we're sure to add to that so that we can make sure that we're following protocol as to just keeping up with this stamp time and say they'll be stamped, once received, by the designated staff.
And I know there's other documents that this kind of triggers off of. So, obviously we're kind of speaking more high level here, but I think that would probably fix some of the concerns of the chairman.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right. So what is the pleasure of this board? I know there was Commissioner Pantazis. Would you like to have legal take a look at this document before we proceed?
Yeah, I think it kind of needs to just, I don't want to delay it, particularly if this is something that really needs to be done. I don't want to delay its approval, but at the same time, I think we need to have full review. And then also, it sounds like there's some more language that needs to be added. So I'd at least like it to.
Okay. We'll refer this item to legal. And That's the pleasure of this board. We'll refer this item to legal. I think Dr. Hood, sounds like you want to say something.
Yes, I would just say, I know we're talking a lot about the document, but it sounds like we need a little bit more clarity around actually how this is going to roll out, the process, the communication to our residents and things like that. So it may be worth, at our next meeting to get an update on how is this actually going to be rolled out beyond just the wording of the document.
Very good. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll refer this to legal, and then we'll actually have an item on the agenda for the next meeting as far as our process, how we need to get messaging out and things of that nature. So let's plan on putting that back on the agenda for next month's meeting. And then, Ms. Foster, if we could put together a presentation as to what the process is now. All right, some of the changes that are proposed to be made in the process, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Staff report, Ms. Foster.
We will have Mr. Armand Matthews, interim VP of Community Engagement, to give the community engagement report.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, Chairpersons, Ms. Foster. Today, I'd like to present to you the HABD virtual homework help and fall initiatives given by the HABD Community Engagement Department. Right now, we are going through Monday through Friday, the days and times are Monday through Friday, 2 to 6, and we modify the days and times as needed. As you all know, Birmingham City has just come back in full time. And so what we are doing is trying to make sure that we can meet the needs of our residents and our children in the times that they are out. So as of now, as you can see on the flyer, we're doing the elementary schools from 2 to 3:15, middle schools from 3:30 to 4:45, and the high schools from 5 until 6. The virtual homework goals are presented, and that is to help the students with their daily homework help needs. We try to make it user-friendly for the students as well as the parents and sometimes grandparents, because as you all know, we have been running into that issue with some of the grandparents needing a little more help to get on. Students are encouraged to come daily, and we do try to maintain enough staff so that we're able to help the students on a one-to-one basis. The staffing, we do encourage the parents to stay on and observe the staff in their interaction with their children. We do have a rotational structure where we have staff on hour and a quarter at a time. We do have at least 7 staff members on at every rotation. And like we said before, when the student comes on, we do try to have a one-on-one with the staff member and the student in a breakout room. That is the homework. Yeah.
Mr. Matthews, got a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Homework is hard. I think a lot of us parents are developing a much better appreciation now for what our teachers go through in helping our students. So I'm wondering, like, if you have one of our staff members, are they expected to be able to help somebody with, calculus 1 as well as help the 3rd grader, with, fractions? Like, have we provided training to our staff to be able to adequately provide the homework help, I guess is what I'm getting at.
What we do is we do have a number of staff with degrees. It's depending on the staff and their background. We do have a number of staff that have already taught in the high school arena, Fortunately, we haven't ran into the calculus. Now, we can't say like as of today, we may have somebody come in, hey, we heard that you all are doing calculus. But what we do is we try to look at our staff's background and then go in and actually, that's why we have it broke down. If I can go back to the flyer, to actual days and times, because we do have a number of staff that are more comfortable, doing the middle school or the elementary, or in what you were describing, the high school. But as of now, we haven't had anybody to come in saying they needed to, thank God, do the calculus.
Gotcha. And I have heard some stuff about the program. I've actually heard from some parents saying that, hey, thank y'all for providing the homework help. But these were parents that their kids were not our residents. So I just want to make sure that we have some clarity around this is just for our HABD families and not just for Birmingham school system or even Pinson Valley or Center Point and that kind of stuff. I want to just make sure we got clarity around that, right?
That actually did happen. And so what we had to do was go back in and look over our documentation, mainly our MOUs. And what we had to do was go back in and just reassess what we were doing and just tell our staff that the only people that we can help is our residents. And the thing is, where that came from, Birmingham City Schools actually put our flyer out with a couple of media sources, put it out there in the public. So that's where that did come from. We had to address it. And so we had to move forward and just keep it to our residents.
Great. But I know this is totally needed, so I applaud you for providing this, because this is a tough time for our schools as well as for our families. So appreciate everything that you're doing with this. I'm also wondering, are there other just service providers outside of our staff that we could make use of and bring them in to kind of augment our capacity? Because I feel like we're probably going to have to go back to 100% virtual based on the cases that are going to go up, and I think that's probably going to increase the demand for these services. So any thoughts around maybe some service providers that we can partner with as well for this?
I guess you read my mind, Vice Chair. We are in talks. We're going to bring that to you all later with HABD, Birmingham Southern, Miles College, and also Birmingham City Schools. So we will put that together and structure it. And what we'll do is present that to you all at a later date.
Okay, perfect. And I know just for my purposes, I would love just to see a report next month as to how many students we've helped. And, I don't know if you break it down per subject or per grade, but it'd be great to see a report, because I think this is something that we can, partner with our communication staff to make sure we're letting people know what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Matthews. And I too, I support what we're doing here with our students, and I definitely understand that, with the dollars that we receive, we have to make sure that these programs are geared to our residents. Our residents come first, and we have to make sure that that's clear. I tell this story all the time. I grew up. I did not grow up in public housing, but I used to go to public housing all the time. To take advantage of those activities, and I didn't live in public housing, and nobody put me out, nobody turned me away, and they knew I didn't live in public housing. Whether it was basketball, what have you, things of that nature. And so, we do have to be careful, with the dollars that we use that are geared toward our residents. But if somebody slides in or whatever and they need some help with their homework, I don't know if that's such a crime or a big deal, or if y'all would have to turn them away. Because homework, everybody needs a little help with the homework, and you offer that assistance. But we do have to be very careful, with the dollars that we receive, that our residents are being made priority when it comes to things of this nature. So I'm sure you guys have whatever you need to do to put in place to make sure that we are assisting our residents and making sure that they are at the forefront of this program. Now, if anybody else needs any help, I don't know if that's something that could be worked out. But we definitely need to make sure that our residents are being made priority.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think, with that tracking, if we find that we have a significant number of people outside of our communities that are needing the help, if we have these other service providers in our community, then that can help us, with that.
That's right. Right. Very good. All right. Any other questions or concerns? All right. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Okay.
All right. Real estate development, Ms. Foster.
Yes, I'll ask Ms. Christy Hilliard, our Real Estate Development Project Analyst, to come forward. And she will present the Choice Neighborhood team.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Attorney Moore, Ms. Foster, and all the guests here today. So the Real Estate Development Department, in collaboration with many key partners, have been working diligently in the community, meeting with our residents of Smithfield Court and Illiton Village community, housing community, and also the residents of Smithfield to bring forth a transformation plan for the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. So before we give the update, we do have some partners that are virtual that will be able to give some updates. I kind of want to introduce to everybody those key partners. So as lead applicants, the Housing Authority will serve as the lead applicants in this application process. And we're collaborating with the City of Birmingham, and they'll serve as our co-applicants in the application process. The City of Birmingham will also serve as the neighborhood lead, which that means they'll spearhead the neighborhood improvement projects and the revitalization efforts. We have JCCO. Many of you all may or may not know JCCO serves in our community, but in the efforts of this application process, they'll serve as our education and people lead. With the strong emphasis and focus on support services and social programming, we want to bring forth sustainable programs along with this application process. So we'll spell that out through our endeavors and our narratives. We also have Rich Graves Partners in Brenshaw, who will be responsible for bringing forth our housing opportunities throughout the community. We have Hummingbird Firm. They have been on the ground with us as far as our community engagement throughout this application process. They have been here. They're not local to us, so they had to travel in during this pandemic to put forth our resident meetings and our community meetings. So they're responsible for our community engagement portion. And last but not least is LRK. They're renowned design architecture firm who will be responsible for helping us gather all the pieces of this transformation plan. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Michael Kimmy, the architect associate with LRK, and Mr. Corey Starworth, Deputy Director of Housing Program with the City of Birmingham.
All right. Thank you so much for opening this discussion up. Before we move forward, I have one question. As far as I understand that the board approved the consultant contract. I get that. But as far as the additional community partners, who decided on who the community partners were going to be toward this project?
And so that was kind of more of a collaborative effort with HABD and the City of Birmingham. We wanted people that were vital to already kind of working within the community of Smithfield. And once we presented it to our residents, they talked a little bit about programs that they knew about. And so that was the decision between HABD and the City of Birmingham. So
you didn't think that maybe bring us to the board before you decided on the partners would be prudent before you proceeded? Well, in this effort through application,
I think it's important to bring forth information to the board, but because we are using the expertise of Brenshaw, they're award-winning applicants for other public housing agencies, and they kind of gave us their expertise advice. We know that the application deadline is fastly approaching, so we knew that we needed to proceed with kind of getting the language set forth. That MOU has not formally been signed. We have been in conversation with other partners. I know we have the city of Birmingham on the Zoom line to talk a little bit about. They had partnership communication with those in the community to see who wanted to learn a little bit more about this application process. So in the interest of time, we used the expertise of Brenshaw team to kind of put that together.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so at this time, Chairman Davis, could I go ahead and open the floor? Okay, I'll open the floor to, again, Mr. Michael Kimmy, Architect Associate, and Mr. Corey Starworth, Deputy Director of Housing Programs.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Chrissy said, my name is Michael Kimmy. I'm an urban designer with LRK. We're working with Brenshaw and the rest of the partners. And what we put together here is actually a modification of one of the community meeting presentations that we're giving during this process. So this first slide is really just for, I know all of you are familiar with the neighborhood, but for anyone who may not be, this effort is focused on the Smithfield neighborhood. Really taking a look at where Smithfield Court is within that, Legion Field and Parker High School of some of the major nodes. And so the first thing I'll really go through here is the schedule and timeline for submitting the grant. And then I'll talk just a little bit about what the process would look like kind of after the grant's submitted, and time frame of when we might hear back and kind of anything else on that. So as of right now, you can see it's November 19th. That's where we are today. And so the grant is due to HUD on December 16th. So all of the consultants working alongside with the Housing Authority, the city, and as well with JC CEO and many others, all making sure, and I'll talk about kind of each of the different parts of the plan, making sure that it's all responding to what's very key in this process was both the resident and the community engagement. So as part of the process, there were 2 resident meetings as well as 2 community meetings, which were key in both talking about the process, informing both the residents and community members of what that process is, but then also going through what we'll talk about in this presentation of what the plan's looking like and kind of what to expect as the revitalization occurs in Smithfield. So once the grant is submitted to HUD on December 16th, the process is that HUD will review all of the applications. It's hard to tell an exact date. They don't actually give an exact date of when they're going to kind of get back to everyone. But once they review all of the applications, typically within 6 to 9 months, there's a short list that's created, and HUD will commence a series of site visits of those applicants who were put on the short list. And that site visit that happens is basically an interview. They come out, want to further review and discuss all aspects of the plan, kind of meet everyone, tour the neighborhood, and kind of hear about any further updates that may have happened past the application was submitted to HUD, and really go through and both the Housing Authority and the city making the pitch of why Birmingham should be selected for that. So then once that's selected, once that the site visit happens, then there's still another kind of month or so before they make the final announcements of who's been selected. And then there'll be lots of fanfare for when the actual grant money is awarded. Typically it involves a site visit from whoever the sitting secretary or someone from the office of HUD coming from DC to visit and kind of hand over the big check. So a little bit, I'm sure mostly everyone's very familiar with the choice program. But for anyone who may not be, it's really an offshoot of the Hope 6 program, where Hope 6 came in and just replaced public housing. Where Choice is different is that it looks at the three core aspects of people, neighborhood, and housing, and that all three of those together are what's important to really transform a distressed neighborhood into a viable and sustainable mixed income neighborhood. So as Christy had introduced of the project partners, the city is serving as the lead for the neighborhood, really kind of looking at the whole cohesive picture of what's possible within the boundaries, money being spent with CDBG, home, other public-private investment that may be happening, and then specifically looking at the people who live within Smithfield Court and also within the community. We're working with JCCEO and kind of really building upon a lot of their existing programs that they have for both the residents and the community. And then with money directly from the grant that will be infused to kind of help build upon partnerships that already exist and kind of create new programming. And then really the last core component is the housing piece of it, of replacing the distressed public housing, Smithfield Court, with new high quality mixed income housing that will fit within the surrounding of the neighborhood. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stallworth. I know we didn't talk much about this, but if you want to just kind of go through the kind of overview of the neighborhood, and then we have some statistics about some of the outreach we had been doing and feedback we received. So Mr. Stallworth.
Yes. So good afternoon, commissioners and everyone in attendance in this meeting this afternoon. I hope everybody can hear me well. Thumbs up if you can. Okay. And so the city is very excited on taking the lead and being the co-applicant for this Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant. Definitely, we share the same sentiments about the Smithfield neighborhood as the Housing Authority. We know that this neighborhood has a lot of historical significance centered around it, with a lot of the neighborhoods surrounding Smithfield Court being historic in nature. We have the Legion Field Stadium located right inside of the community, Parker High School. And so there are a lot of amenities within this neighborhood that makes it very viable for revitalization. And so what the city wants to do in partnership with the Housing Authority, and we're so grateful that you chose us to participate in this application with you all, is to really collaborate our efforts between the public housing revitalization and a lot of the larger neighborhood revitalization. Rarely do we see that take place as often, and so we have a very special opportunity to really create a purposeful community and enhance on a lot of the assets that are there. And so the city of Birmingham, we are pulling all of our resources together to help push this effort. And so we have our capital projects department, we have our community development department, we have our permitting and engineering department, all coming together to see how can the city plan some of those special community amenities, whether it's trails, whether it's bike lanes, whether it's enhancements to the public library, things of that nature that we can possibly plan over the next 5 years that will help enhance a lot of the revitalization that will take place on the Smithfield Court site, as well as we are also looking at how can we leverage a lot of the vacant properties, maybe through the land bank or some of those privately owned properties, as well as city-owned properties throughout the neighborhood, that the city can partner with other public and private partners to do some infill housing across the Smithfield neighborhood. And so we are really looking at Smithfield from every angle. We have had 2 great meetings with the Smithfield larger neighborhood and stakeholders, and the Smithfield Neighborhood Association has been very, very supportive, and we've got a lot of feedback from what a lot of the residents in the larger Smithfield community want to see. And so on these next slides, you see these are some of the polls, the questions that we asked during those virtual neighborhood meetings about what some of the residents would like to see in the larger neighborhood. And so some of it was they would like to see art and mural throughout their neighborhood. Some wanted to see trail networks and community gardens. Then we had some that want to have special places where they can gather, whether that is a pavilion and gazebos, or just places that frame the entrance into the neighborhood, such as gateway monuments, which is very ideal because that can help build on the historic trail that goes through Smithfield Court right now in Smithfield neighborhood. Also, there was a lot of interest in fitness and ball fields for residents to enjoy with their families. As well as there was interest in live work units. So we got a lot of feedback of people saying that they want opportunities where they maybe can work at a small business within their neighborhood. We know that Reverend Abraham Woods Boulevard also serves as a large thoroughfare with a lot of commercial activity off of it. And so we want to be able to see how we can serve as a catalyst to help embolden a lot of that commercial space where a lot of residents can also work and play in the same neighborhood. And so those are just a lot of the things that we are working to do as the neighborhood lead. As I stated earlier, for the Choice Neighborhood Grant, these activities are over a 5-year time frame. And so we want to make sure that we seize this opportunity to do something that's specific and tailored to the Smithfield community. And to help facilitate this work, the city approved $1.5 million in CDBG funds at our council meeting on this past Tuesday to help support a lot of these initiatives. We know that it's going to take much more than the $35 million that the grant provides. So the city of Birmingham is looking to leverage its resources and provide resources in any way that we can. And so we will definitely keep this board and the team at HABD updated as we continue to flush out a lot of these neighborhood enhancements. And I just want to say that the consultant team and the HABD staff have been very, very helpful in helping us to get to this point today. And thank you all for your time. I also want to say that this project is very special to me as I was working on it during my time at the Housing Authority. So I'm grateful to see that this is still moving forward. And I look forward to us receiving a successful grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stallworth. And so at this point, we weren't able to have any members from JCCO join us this afternoon, but we feel it's important to go through some of the things that they're up to and the ways that they'll be supporting the grant on the people side. So as many of you may know, they are actually located within the footprint of the Smithfield neighborhood. And they're really excited and about this opportunity to be able to help further expand. They're already working on trying to further expand a lot of their existing programming, and that this is really a great opportunity to kind of help with that from a financial perspective, from the funds that would directly come from the Choice Grant. And so really the background for JCCO is that they provide services to all low-income citizens across all of Jefferson County, and really to help and make sure that they're meeting the needs and for them to become self-sufficient. As part of that, one of the great reasons why they fit very well with the program for Choice is that Choice very much focuses on early childhood education. And so the JCCO runs both not just a Head Start program, but also an early Head Start program. And they're also working on many other child development services around that many others are similar to what the Housing Authority is working on with virtual learning, health and nutrition, disabilities, and also assistance for parents as well. They also provide a lot of community services. They have what's called the LIHEAP Utility Assistance Program, which is actually funds that can be made available to assist with utility bills for those who may not have enough to, or kind of, come up short during those times. And then as part of that, tied to the program, they also have a weatherization program. They'll actually come in and help with things such as leaky windows or providing better insulation in buildings, so that you can actually help reduce a lot of the utility bills. And so this is another great crossover between both the people plan as well as the neighborhood plan, that there's already a lot of these services being provided. And then they have a great rental assistance program for those in the community, as well as providing classes and services around financial literacy. And they also have a very large senior component. As we know, Smithfield Court does have a large population of seniors within it, and they provide adult day health care, as well as kind of many other targeted programs and sessions for those seniors, making sure that they're accommodated for. And also as part of kind of their broader outreach that they have, either they themselves or they can help get you connected if you want to volunteer or you're looking for volunteers, that they're able to kind of bridge the gap there and make sure that to provide help and assistance for any other types of programs that may be going on, kind of both ways with the network that they already have in place. And here's just where they're located and kind of all their contact information. But specifically, we've been working with Ms. Sharon Miles, as well as who's their current CEO, as well as with Dwight Mitchell, who is I believe he's their head of communications. And they've been very helpful during the process and kind of documenting what they're already doing, as well as providing lots of ways that they can help build upon their existing services to help bolster what's being provided to both the residents and other community members. So with that, at this point in the presentation, I'm going to turn it over to the development partnership for the housing lead of Brinshore and Ridgegrave Partners. So we have John Majors. Go ahead, John.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone. Certainly a pleasure to be here with you virtually and walk you through some of the components of the housing lead in our partnership, Brinshore and Ridgegraves. Brinshore has been around since about 1994. We've developed across the country over 8,000 units of affordable and mixed income housing. All that to say, every community, every city is different. Every housing opportunity is different. And the fact that we've developed, in what you'll see is some of the things that we've developed, some things from our partners' portfolio here. All that says is that we've got the flexibility to be responsive to the Smithfield community because we've done a myriad of different types of housing. One of the things I do want to say that's really important to us about CNI is that it properly positions housing within the relationship to the other partners. So partnering with HABD, partnering with the city, partnering with JCCEO, we'll do we believe a very fantastic job with the housing. But when you start talking about community transformation, it's not only the housing, it's what we're showing on the screen, but it's all those other partnerships that oftentimes don't get seen. So we can just flip through. These are just sort of samples of what have been developed in other developments, and some subset of these are often used in the community meetings to let folks know what they might expect, and also to give some feedback in terms of things that do resonate and things that maybe don't resonate. So yeah, these are just, again, pictures of other housing that's been developed. Some of this is in Birmingham, some of this is in different places across the country. So
Perfect. Thank you, John. And so the next thing that we'd like to talk about in this presentation is that we'll actually jump into Smithfield Court itself and the process, our design process we've gone through and working collaboratively with Brinshaw, with the Housing Authority, with the city, as well as many others, and kind of coming up with this approach. So when first looking at Smithfield Court itself, the first thing that everyone really notices with it is that the design of it was done as what's referred to as a super block, where it's really kind of not great cross access that's provided through the site, and that actually First Street and Second Street don't actually align with the existing grid of Birmingham, and there's not a great kind of east-west connector going through the site. And so really the first thing as we really like to take a look at are those community assets that currently exist, and how we can really build upon those as we continue to work through the plan and really finalize what will be put together for the application of that the Smithfield Library currently exists across the site. From the site, on site, there's the combination of the community center and the health center. And then just adjacent to the site of having the great asset of Parker High School, that those are important to really stay and build upon those. And then of course, what's really important is that across the site, there's a lot of great, huge existing trees, heritage trees, that some refer to them as. And as the plan, the new plan that we'll kind of put on the screen here in a bit is really taking a moment and how can we save these, and providing kind of in this, COVID world that we're in at the moment, those great outdoor spaces for those that will be living on site. So really the first move that we took a look at is realigning the street grid from north to south to allow First Street and Second Street to be reconnected again. And then taking a look at for the east-west connection of utilizing the existing trees that exist there and creating a boulevard, really bringing 9th Avenue West all the way through the site to Parker High School. And so the first, as the plan comes on the screen, you'll notice that there's really a mix of different housing options that we'll go through in a minute here. And what we'd like to really stress about this, as we had developed the plan with all of the partners, is being sure to respond to both the architectural character that exists in the neighborhood, as well as the intergenerational that exists between the seniors, families, singles, kind of all the different types of living that exist, and that to be able to disperse them nicely across the site and not really kind of cluster anything in one area. And then really also preserving Smithfield Community Center of kind of as part of this rethinking what the future of that could be. And then always thinking again to the connectivity of the trails that currently exist that go through the site along Center and kind of just north through to the rest of Birmingham. So we'll go through and take a look at just really a high level of the different types of product types we're contemplating. So the first one you'll see here on screen are what we're referring to as cottages. We see these as great to be focused towards seniors, that they would most likely be between 1 to 2 bedrooms and really be open onto a nice central green, big front porches to be lived on, and that as we were kind of really talking through everything, that, if there were seniors kind of living here, that maybe the rest of their family members could live somewhere else on the block. And there's just kind of that great connectivity between the different product types. And then the next one is single family. So there's mostly these along the edges of the site, where for instance, on Center Street, there's already a great amount of character that exists with the single family along Center, and really just kind of mirroring that back onto the site and providing a place for kind of larger families, looking at between 3 to 4 bedrooms within the single family. And then to continue through, the next two are pretty similar to one another. what we're calling duplexes and triplexes, which are basically just each attached home. They'll have an entry off of the main street, a little outdoor space. And that really what's key for these, again, are to provide a lot of flexibility for bedroom sizes, if whether they're a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, and so that each family would have really their own sense of home and a place to call their own. The next one we'll refer to as a walk-up, which is really one building consisting of anywhere between 6 to 8, sometimes somewhere in between that number of units in one building. And what's key with this is that there'll be a central corridor that kind of connects all of the units, but that the design of it, when you look at it from the street, is that it's designed to kind of look like one big house. So again, it kind of adds to that flavor and character throughout the neighborhood. And the last housing type we'll talk about are multifamily. So in order to kind of get the density where appropriate on site on places such as Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard, or along the new boulevard that we're creating on site along 9th Avenue, that we're contemplating providing a minimum of at least one targeted multifamily building that would be for seniors. And this would be meaning that there's an elevator in the building and that it would be designed in such a way the units and other amenities that they would be targeted towards seniors. And then the other 2 multifamily buildings could just be typical buildings kind of open for anyone, but that's still at a point in the process that we're reviewing. And then also thinking about all of the other green spaces that exist across the site. So in working in partnership with the city and best trying to allocate all of the funding for it, of how this plaza can really react to the existing Smithfield Library that's just across the street, and that this plaza can help inform what might be happening on the ground floor of this building and kind of any other future improvements that might happen along Woods Jr. Boulevard. As well as, again, as I've mentioned before, of rethinking what's possible with the community center and the health center. I'm always thinking for them to be community and people-driven spaces, as well as throughout the site, of providing lots of different opportunities for play for kids of all ages. And really the last piece of always bringing back and listening to what we had been hearing of having everything be fitness focused. So providing lots of walking trails, connectivity to kind of the bigger circuit trails that exist throughout the neighborhood and connect to the greater Birmingham area. And so with that, we're really gonna then take a step out and take a look at the larger neighborhood and some of the high level concepts that we're taking a look at. So there's the site plan we just reviewed for Smithfield Court. And really the first thing in reviewing initiatives from the city as well as the Freshwater Land Trust and rethinking kind of bike connectivity and other pedestrian connectivities, that these streets highlighted here, we see the potential of being what we refer to as green streets, where with kind of extra targeted tree planting or providing on-street or protected bike lanes, improving sidewalks and things along those nature, kind of really help interconnect what's proposed revitalization of Smithfield Court with the greater Smithfield neighborhood, as well as thinking through kind of the future and what's possible with McClendon Park and Legion Field itself. We do know there's a lot of targeted money for upgrades to Legion Field for some of the games that are happening there, but also thinking through for along the edges, if there could be some targeted either tree planting or other community-oriented development, so that all of McClendon Park can be used throughout the year and not just kind of at the high tide events that may happen when there's a game going on. In working with the city, we've targeted specific city-owned land that's throughout the neighborhood that we're really using as a catalyst to help further other vacant and underutilized properties to help build more off-site housing throughout the neighborhood. So this is just what we saw as kind of the start to help get started and take a look at really specifically around the node gateway feature into the neighborhood, as well as many other places. And of course, a new proposed trail greenway, which again is in alignment with what the city and the Freshwater Land Trust are looking at, as they refer to as a greenway, to help connect from creek to creek and other trails that are existing, and kind of helping fill in the missing pieces. So one of the first things we'll take a look at here is kind of what's the future of Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard. And so these were some preliminary sections that were put together, and actually some of the conversations have changed a bit with the city, but it's still good to kind of talk through and get an understanding of what we've been talking through. And so what's shown on screen now are the existing street sections of what is currently there, and then proposing and thinking through what's possible in the future of adding parking, as well as some bike lanes and maybe some other planting areas to the actual street section itself. So here's that one corner we're talking about at Center and where Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard intersects. You have Smithfield Library and what's existing of Smithfield Court. And so we had done just a quick sketch over to kind of show what's possible in the future if protected bike lanes are added, future planted medians within the right-of-way, rethinking and providing opportunities for facade improvement programs for many of the existing commercial along Woods Jr. Boulevard, rethinking what's possible at Smithfield Library right at the plaza or other improvements, the new plaza itself, and then exactly how the new buildings proposed on Smithfield Court can be interacting with the new right-of-way, and specifically if there's really health and wellness focus potentially on this node. The next one we'll talk about quickly here is Graymont Avenue, and specifically at this intersection of where 6th Street North hits Graymont Avenue. And all of this kind of yellow goldenrod city-owned land is actually an old railroad right-of-way, which is currently underutilized. And again, so this is existing Graymont and 6th, and you can see the old right-of-way right here. And again, having a quick sketch over to explain what's possible here, of rethinking what the right-of-way of 6th Street North could look like, proposed infill housing, taking a look at the connectivity of all the bus stops along there. And really most importantly is this greenway or trail connection going all the way from creek to creek through Smithfield and connecting to many other trails that already currently exist, as well as other facade improvement programs that could happen. So with that, we talked about those two streets, but we really see that it's the improvement of all the streets, all investments that are already been happening in the neighborhood, and kind of to continue keep it all moving along. So with that, that's our presentation that we wanted to give of the update with the process. At this point, we can be here if there's any particular questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Very, very thorough. We appreciate you guys putting that together, and we're looking forward to hearing more about the application process as it moves forward. Good luck on putting together an awesome application with the City of Birmingham, the Housing Authority, and JCCO, and all the other partners. So we're looking for a great application to go forward, and thank y'all for all the work that you've done to get us to this point. Are there any questions from the board concerning this presentation? All right, thank y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you.
Thank you. We appreciate it very much. So at this time, we're going to have to pivot real quick. We're trying to accommodate all of our board, and we've got some board members that have other meetings and things that they have to get to in short order. So if it's the pleasure of this board, if I can get general consent, we need to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter. We should be in there long in about 15 minutes probably. If I can get general consent to do that, Attorney Moore, is that proper to go into executive session?
It is.
All right. So if I can get a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Motion to go into executive session.
All right, we got a motion. I think I heard a second. So it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So we're about to go into executive session. We will be in executive session for approximately 15 minutes, and we will reconvene at the call of the chair, and we will complete the rest of our agenda. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, is Terrain going to put us in a breakout room for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Have you muted out of us?
Like
He's about to. Hot. Hot mic. Hot mic.
Need to be hot so that they can hear us.
Yeah.
Soda real quick.
Okay. We don't need you crashing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know that.
I got some peppermint in my pocket.
Now you make me feel. Thank you.
Right, so I can't kill the microphone because in order for them to hear on Zoom, y'all have to go on the microphone. So they can't hear out here unless they're at the door.
Gotcha.
So we usually monitor that anyway.
Okay, all right.
Nobody have
All right, just keep an eye on the door. We in good shape. Yeah, I'm gonna back away from the microphone.
I'm trying to find my cake. Oh, sorry. Hey. It's been a full day.
Yeah.
My week on the bench, I tell you.
Bless your heart.
I tell them, I was like, hey, we got to roll them in and roll them out today. Yesterday I had I told them yesterday was 19-year-old day. Everybody came in, had marijuana charges, and they was 19.
Oh, man.
You feeling bad when I have to reach out to you and say, I'm on the bench.
I just like, hold on, let me walk off. I'll be okay. I just I like, okay, hold on. You're okay. It just be so sad. I'd be looking at them, and my son's small, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, golly, y'all look like my son. I look like the children, the kids or something. But,
Run to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back, though.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Did you find a drink?
Yes. I'm sorry.
I said, did you find a drink in there?
Yeah, Kizzy, I put it in. I had ordered one with my lunch.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're lucky you. I should have ordered some. I don't know what I want.
All right, so checking out the screen, just want to make sure we have everybody, right?
Yep, everybody's here.
All right, and the one is empty right there. It says presenter. No one's at the podium. That's the only thing you see. And then the one, the HABD is this computer.
Okay. All right, appreciate you, Terrain. And I know we have
I'm gonna stop the recording, but you don't want this recorded.
No, we want this recorded. Ooh, this N95 no joke.
I know. I
can't even breathe.
All right. All right, the HABD Board of Commissioners meeting is called back to order. And let me say to our presenters, thank you for being patient with us. We're trying to juggle and making sure that we were accommodating to all of our commissioners. So thank you. I apologize for the delay, but I'm just trying to make sure that we're accommodating. So thank you so much for waiting and being patient with us. We have one item that we need to approve forward with our presentations. If I can entertain a motion.
I'll put a motion to approve the contract for CEO to Mr. David Northern, and also to give approval to Chairman Davis to sign the contract.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, so we now have a new president and CEO. Mr. David A. Northern is our new president and CEO. I think he might be on the call, so
Yeah, I am on a call. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I have to get off the call, and I'll be in touch with you, Chairman. Totally appreciate what you guys been able to do in terms of offering and working together. Ms. Foster's been amazing, and the rest of the team there has been great. So I'm looking forward to us working together to move things forward.
yeah, and before we get off, Mr. Northern, we just want to thank you publicly for what you did in assisting Mrs. Foster with working with the piggyback contract with HUD, with BSO. We really think that's going to help fill that vacuum with our financial services and until we can get some more stable programs in place. So thank you so much for what you did to help get us to this point, and we look forward to great things.
Well, thank you also. Again, as I continually explain that being a houser is a houser, and in our industry, we all work together for the betterment of all our clients that we serve, the marginalized people throughout this nation. So again, I just want to say thank you guys, and unfortunately, I have to exit this meeting. I'm running to another one, but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks again. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so Ms. Foster, we are down to, we did our Choice Neighborhood Grant Application Report, so now we're down to Studio 2H report.
So Ms. Christy Hilliard, real estate project analyst, is going to present our presenters for Studio 2H.
And so good afternoon, everyone, again. Good afternoon, commissioners, those that are still here with us virtually. We do have our presenters here today with us. Again, I'm Christy Hilliard, real estate development project analyst, and we're here to give an update. When I say we have Ms. Carol Clark, general manager of Southside Development Company, and Mr. Brian Wolf. And we also have Melinda Hatcher. She's Studio 2H design architect. So in interest of what's kind of been happening, we know that Southside Development Company is our developing partners with Southtown Court Development Project, but we want to kind of give some greatest and latest news. So we'll have Ms. Melinda Hatcher come up representing Studio 2H regarding demo design.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chrissy. Commissioners, staff, and guests. My name is Melinda Hatcher, architect with Studio 2H Design, LLC. And I want to thank you for your continued relationship with us. We appreciate the opportunity to serve you and be on your team of consultants. And I do want to also give you kudos for making it one of your procurement requirements for minority and small businesses and women-owned businesses. So I know a lot of times people don't get up and say thank you, but I wanted to at least get that out of the way before we go into the questions about and Q&A for Southtown Development. I know it's been a long meeting, and my slides are actually pretty brief. So in your NDA, you're required to turn Southtown over, kind of cleared off at grade to the developer partner. So I know you're probably not going to be able to see my cursor, and I'm going to try to talk through this as easily as I can. This is a very, the sheet that's represented on the screen is about 24 by 36 inches wide, so it's not really legible on the displays that you're seeing. And zooming in and out won't be real easy. So we're going to talk in terms of up, down, left, and right. And we're going to start at the bottom right-hand side where you see the north arrow. So that north arrow is pointing up, that's north, south is down, west is to the left, east is to the right, so that we are all oriented. So I'm going to start in the top quadrant, left-hand side of the page, the one that says this block is not included in this project, because guess what, it's block A. So demo will be excluded in block A because that's where you're moving the residents to, that will stay on site as the demo and construction are going on around them. To the right of that is block B, and you will see, if you squint really hard, where you see the two rows cross, you'll see a little bitty depiction that says A, B, C, and D, all clockwise. So A is up and to the left, B is up and to the right, C is down and to the right, and D is down and to the left. So now that everybody is kind of oriented, I'm going to kind of hold to make sure that after I tell you where University Boulevard is, which is to the left edge of the page. Hold on, let me make sure that I'm sorry. University Boulevard is to the top of the page. Thank you. Even an architect can get disoriented when you don't, when you're not looking at the same thing. So does everybody see University Boulevard? Okay. So now that we're oriented, the next slide, I wanted to show this one because it shows the full development. And the previous presenter talked about the super block. Block C is the most super block on this, and it's not orthogonal. So we'll refer to that as the big block. And also to the south of that, in the little triangular part, that's at the bottom right of your page, that's where the maintenance buildings are. If you visited the site and you know where things are located. So next slide, Southtown phasing plan. Because we're keeping block A operational, we are going to have to install both sanitary and sewer because of the way the existing neighborhood is developed, so that those tenants don't lose, and you don't lose service to those buildings as part of our demolition project. So before we demo, we're going to have to relocate sewer and storm because of the way those current services are designed to work with the site. So if you look at phase 1 in area C, and you see the big letters there, we're gonna have to demolish 3 buildings, the maintenance buildings, to prepare to install the new sewer. Currently, your developers are planning on developing block D first. So that's next on the demolition phase, and all of that scope of service needs to happen during phase 2 of this plan so that we can assure that Block A stays up and operational and that the site will effectively drain and effectively support sewer services for those tenants who are remaining in blocks B, C, and D until they're relocated. That all needs to happen in phase 2. Sorry. I know I just lost you because my the screen just went out.
I see it on my side, but there seems to also be an issue with audio. Someone's saying that they can't hear.
I may need to get closer and talk louder. Is that better?
We'll see. They haven't responded, so you just continue.
Okay. So we're at phase 2. So that list of scope has to happen, and we're given the contractor to put that in his schedule as a phase 2 activity. Phase 3, by that time, areas B and area C will be ready for demo because those tenants will have been relocated. And I know this is very small, but we prepared a budget that all our documents to date have been submitted and approved by HUD, and they've been released, and it's advertising for bids. So currently we have a projected demolition cost, including the storm sewer and sanitary sewer, at $3.7 million. $3,722,281. I mean, $81 million, not cents. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. $3,722,281. That's the. So hopefully on bid day, we have bids. We receive bids in this range. So this is kind of the schedule in terms of the design schedule to get the project bid. So the drawings were released on November the 12th. The advertisement ran in one of the local publications starting Sunday. On Monday, November the 23rd at 10 o'clock, we will have a pre-bid conference on site. The last day for contractors who will be pre-approved to bid this project will be November the 28th at 5 o'clock. Our bid date is currently scheduled for December 8th at 10 o'clock at the main headquarters downtown. And we anticipate board approval December 17th of 2020. So hopefully the commissioner's Christmas schedule will support that, because we really need to get this, the contractor selected and under contract, and so he can start working at the very beginning of the year, if not before Christmas. And that's all I have. Open to your questions.
Are there any questions concerning the presentation by Studio 2H Design concerning the demolition of Southtown? Any questions? And so as far as the timeline, this board is going to work very diligently to make sure that we try to work with whatever timelines or time constraints that we're given. We have a very, very busy board. We have an active board. So we'll have to plan schedules probably as soon as possible to try to meet these deadlines. But we have our commitment that we're going to do everything we can to ensure that we don't impede in the progress of this project.
Well, I'm hopeful that by Monday, after we have the mandatory pre-bid meeting, we will have a great list of contractors who are interested in bidding this project. If not, we'll work with Ms. Foster and her staff to make sure that we have the participation necessary on this project so that we can make sure that you get good prices for this work.
Now, on the Section 3 piece, I just want to make sure we're clear on the Section 3 piece that we are working with the Section 3 coordinator to make sure that those opportunities are being provided to our residents and also to any other Section 3 participants that want to participate in this project.
Ms. French is here to give you that commitment that we're going to make that happen.
Right. Along with, of course, I know we are our resident leadership. They're definitely, part of this process. So we want to make sure that we're including our resident leadership as well to make sure that that this is a very inclusive project. We've been working on this for quite some time now. It feels like since I've been on this board, we've been working on this project, but we've been very intentional about making sure that our residents get an opportunity to participate. And anybody that knows me know that I'm serious about that and I'm intentional about it. And so I just want to echo my sentiments again as to how I think we need to proceed.
And may I add to that, Commissioner Chair? We've also invited the CPAB to this pre-bid meeting so that whatever's being presented, that they're comfortable hearing the training opportunities that they will have.
Very good. Okay. Very good.
So thank you, Nolanda and her team and sub partners. They've been working really tirelessly to meet the deadlines that kind of were set forth prior to in our commitment with Southside Development Company, which I'll have them come up to represent the updates from that end. But I thank you, Nolanda, and your team for working with me, a newbie to the team, but learned a lot in the process and moving the items, the high priority items along the way. So at this time, commissioners, Ms. Foster and everybody, if I could bring up Carol Clark, General Manager of Southside Development Company, and Brian Wolf to give an update from Southside Development Company.
Thank you, Christy. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Foster, HABD team, and others still present. We appreciate this opportunity to give you a brief update, and we will make it brief. I don't want you to suffer from death by PowerPoint at this late point in the evening. So we promised to keep in touch with you and keep you up to date on our progress, and I believe it was probably January when we were here last to present jointly. And at that time, we presented our work plans for the year, and little did we know what this year had in store for us. So it hasn't quite gone. We're not on exactly what we had planned to have done by this year, but we have made some good progress. And we want to mainly focus on the comprehensive redevelopment strategy, which is a high-level land use plan, and update you on changes to that. And for the sake of newer members, I wanted to just kind of backtrack and just refresh on our team makeup. SDC is our nickname for Southside Development Company, and we are a special purpose entity that was created specifically to help HABD meet its goals as it relates to the Southtown redevelopment. We have 3 partners / owners, if you will. Corporate Realty is where I sit, and they assist me, their staff assists me with reporting and accounting and and all of that good stuff, but also project management assistance and corporate realty's focus or role in this redevelopment is mainly around leading the master planning, also the infrastructure development, and office and retail development. The next partner is two companies, Breck and SPM. They are in the Weldon family of companies. Breck is the development arm, SPM is the management arm, and together they develop and manage primarily affordable tax credit properties and also conventional multifamily. The third partner is the Benoit Group. They are an African-American owned firm. They are headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, but they do projects in multiple states and have also expanded to Birmingham. They have a core strength in public housing authority redevelopment, a big focus on affordable and mixed income multifamily, as well as conventional housing and other commercial property types. So consultants who've really assisted us along this journey to date, Brasfield Gorey, in association with A.G. Gaston, they've really been our construction consultants. They've helped us with estimating, they've helped us with scheduling, and may get involved more with the commercial aspects of the development, as they don't really do housing construction. Gensler is the firm that has been assisting mostly with master planning to date. And with me today, as Christy mentioned, is Brian Wolf. He's the Chief Development Officer at Corporate Realty, and he'll walk you through the comprehensive redevelopment strategy. Virtually, hopefully they're still there, is Stephen Heidinger, who's from Breck Development, and also Torian Priestley from the Benoit Group, because they are going to be focused on delivering the phase one affordable housing so that we can get residents back on the site as quickly as possible. Before I turn it over to Brian, I just wanted to walk you through, Commissioner, what am I not doing? Commissioner Davis alluded to this long journey. So it's coming up on 4 years, and I just wanted to kind of highlight what we've been doing pretty high level and quickly. And I'm skipping a few slides, so in the interest of time. We were selected in late 2016. We kicked off the project in early 2017. And as we were planning to master plan, we hit a road bump. The team had some challenges that we had to resolve, and it delayed us for several months. So that was resolved by January of 2018. So we got the master planning firm engaged and kicked off the master planning in April of 2018. And we had a very high touch community engagement process, which I think was exemplary, if I may say so myself. We'd never done it this way before, but HABD appointed an advisory council, which had resident leaders and also many stakeholders from the neighboring institutions and merchants and highway department. And, it was a pretty inclusive group of stakeholders that we had work sessions with at each milestone. And then whenever we brought that group together that afternoon, we would have an open house where we would have refreshments and invite the residents in to really be able to have input into the master plan. They were very concerned with what was going to happen to them and when. So we were equipped with the full complement of HABD staff and support team and support services to really make sure they could get answers to their relocation questions, but also relax enough to give us their input and their vision for the future Southtown. So that pretty much consumed all of 2018, and we had a big report out toward the end of the year and had the master plan approved by this board. Then the next year, we really focused on negotiating the contract. So it was kind of a hunker down and negotiate year. We also, HABD worked on the Special Application Center application that is where HUD approves the demolition and disposition of the property. We also decided to pursue the 9% tax credit to try to hurry up and get housing back on the site so that residents would not be displaced for long. So that happened in 2019. And then we had to keep in touch with residents. So HABD had a complement of strategies it deployed with town hall meetings, and some of that has extended into this year where communication has been a little more difficult. Campus of Hope, Armand's gone now, but we just did a lot of different things to stay in touch with residents as during this period so that they didn't wonder what was going on. So 2020 kicked off pretty good. We got the SAC approval in February. We started the final relocation assessment in March, and then COVID hit. And then we got the great news that we had been awarded the 9% tax credit, which is very competitive. So we were pretty ecstatic, but it also started the clock. So if you hear a little time pressure on our part, the clock is ticking, and that doesn't mean that we cannot appeal because of these extenuating circumstances for more time, but we just have to figure out how to do that. It's kind of uncharted. I think everybody feels like AHFA is very strict on time, and so we want to, unless we get a concession, we want to do everything we can to deliver in the time frames that have been established that we've committed to. So hats off to the HABD team. They have been, Southtown takes a lot of attention for them, and it's not their only project. They have so much to do, and we command a lot of their attention just to keep up with the details. And so I just want to, compliment them because they do manage a whole lot. And, they've done a pretty amazing job making this project front and center and giving it the attention that it needs to keep moving. But I know that they are working really, really hard. So with that, I want to just ask Brian to come up and just walk you through the updates to the comprehensive redevelopment strategy. And I'm going to skip a few slides because I did skip a few slides, if you'll help me. And then I'm just going to come back and talk about next steps. That's good. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank y'all for being patient with us. Before you, we have Joseph in his coat of many colors. I'll kind of walk you through the different color codes first on this comprehensive redevelopment strategy. Everything in yellow is slated to be multifamily. Everything in red is retail. Orange is indicated for hotel. Office is in kind of the teal color. We have some office over retail, which is indicated by purple. Medical office is the darker blue color. Parking garages are in the gray color, and then open space, green space is in the green color. These mix of uses are very important in how they're put together to kind of create an environment in which it's really indicative to enjoy yourself and to really extend the day. And when people live there or are staying there for a hotel or working there, the mix of uses and how those go together are very important in a mixed use environment. And we kind of talk about it in terms of a time clock in our office. And we don't want it to be a 24/7 operation, but we do want it to be, at least a 12-hour day where we've got people activating the streetscape throughout the day and into the early and even mid-evening hours so that people have opportunities for both work, but also for services there, restaurants and even general merchandise that they can use in their daily lives. So that's a very important part of mixed-use development. The orientation of the residential on this site is very important too. As you can see, most of our commercial development is pushed up against University Boulevard, and that's for a specific reason. You know, University Boulevard is highly trafficked. It's not exactly the quietest street in Birmingham. And we wanted to make sure that the residential is tucked back behind that because it's naturally up against more residential as you climb up the mountain towards the top of Red Mountain. And that's intentional, as you can imagine. The roadways in here, we took a very, very hard look at how the roadways were set up. Obviously, 24th is a main north-south thoroughfare in Birmingham. A lot of traffic comes over the mountain at that location and comes down to the traffic light. And we do plan on reimagining these streets into more of a complete streets environment. So we're really thinking about pedestrians and putting some of these streets on a diet, if you will, particularly 24th. As y'all know, 24th has got a pretty high pace to it right now. We want to put some things in place, including landscaping and some other attributes that slow that traffic down a little bit, calm it naturally. And so we are going to look at put a traffic light at the corner of, or at the intersection of 9th and 24th. We do want to encourage the pedestrian crossings on blocks A and D over to blocks B and C. And we believe with this mix of uses that we will be able to do that in a very meaningful way. Green space should not be overlooked on this plan. It was something that, as Carol mentioned during the kind of workshopping process with both the community and with the stakeholders, it was something that was held in very high regard. We hold in high regard as a mixed-use developer. And you'll see there are a couple of pocket parks in here that are strategically located next to restaurant areas that are in red. And that's specific because we want to encourage outdoor dining opportunities. And we want to encourage people to use those pocket parks throughout the day. And we've got a buffer between Red Mountain and some of the mixed-use residential and office that we want to kind of treat as a linear park. So we want some connectivity between 10th and University Boulevard. And so we'll be programming that park with several things that will allow a better use of that space and be better for the whole mixed-use environment, both office and residential. I'm going to walk you around the site kind of alphabetically. So starting with Block A, as Ms. Hatcher had alluded to before, Block A will be the last block developed because it'll stay in its current state for quite a while. We, pursuant to our MDA, we cannot develop Block A until the first replacement housings are delivered on Block D. So that'll be our first focus is on Block D. But in the future, Block A sets up very nicely for office and either hotel or residential on that site. We like the interplay between residential, hotel, and office because they can share parking between day and night uses. And that's a very big deal. We don't have to double build parking. So office obviously impacts parking during the day, and then hotel and residential impact parking at night. So we get a lot of shared use out of parking decks. We do have a little bit of retail on the corner of 9th and 24th on the backside of Block A. We hope that to be a restaurant or some other small service retail that could be on that corner. And then moving over to Block B, this is kind of our big commercial block. We're in talks with several large 30 to 40,000 square foot junior retail anchors for that corner. Those talks have somewhat been impacted by COVID, that people have slowed down. A lot of folks are just taking it easy right now. So it's been hard to really command letters of intent. But we are working diligently with a lot of retailers to try to figure out who's the best fit for that site. That retailer will also share in that parking deck that's in the middle of Block B. And then just to the right of that parking deck on Block B, you'll notice a large blue building or land use that's, we hope to be medical office and or research. Given that our proximity and our location within the medical district of Birmingham, we feel like this is a great location for either wet lab space for research, which is something that's sorely needed in Birmingham, or medical office. There's quite a lot of medical office need given the proximity to both UAB and St. Vincent's. You'll notice two little small retail pods in red that are just next to the green spaces. We feel like those are going to be developed in concert with that medical office and hotel. Those are envisioned to be mainly restaurants, 2 to 3 restaurants between those two retail pods. And then as we work our way south onto Block C, well, I've skipped over the hotel that's next to the office building. I don't want to skip over that, but we feel like there will be a need for a hotel on that side of the site, given its proximity both to the expressway and also to St. Vincent's, but also to the office building. Block C, we have some ground floor retail. Second floor would be office and/or more residential. That's what's shown in purple. We have a parking deck there that helps to park that. Just south of that in yellow is multifamily residential, and that multifamily residential will actually be mixed use in the sense that 60 of those will be replacement housing units, and with the remainder being market rate housing. And then there's a teal building just next to 24th on Block C that will be residential, not residential, but office. That's a great office site. We feel like that's going to be sought after. Still got great visibility and great access, so it'd be a really good site. And finally, Block D, and I'll skip over to the next slide for Block D. Our partners here on the phone, Torian with the Benoit Group and Stephen Heidinger with Breck, are in the process. They're a little over 50% with their design on Block D. This will be our first block to develop. It'll be entirely replacement housing for residents who want to live at Southtown. Right up against 23rd, which is on the left-hand side of the page, will be 60 family units. And then on the right-hand side of the page, next to 24th, will be 160 senior replacement housing units. This site also has 2 parcels that HABD does not own that we do control that have some amenities on them. There's a pavilion and a playground area just to the south of the 60-unit family deal, and we are working with HABD on that acquisition right now. With that, screen went out. I'll turn it back over to Carol to kind of go over next steps. Got it.
Thank you, Brian. Just in closing, just to talk about, we talked about kind of where we are with the current status. And of course, completing relocation is critical path because it's the key to a lot of the downstream activities that we have to pursue. Acquiring the parcels is going to happen in the next few months. Filing our rezoning case, we wanted to update you on the strategy because we need to move forward with our rezoning application on behalf of HABD to get the site rezoned to mixed use downtown. It's the zoning classification we're pursuing that will support the, that's what everyone's designing to, and it's consistent with the land use plan at this time. DBE and Section 3 contractor solicitation, and also creating economic opportunities for residents, both in employment and training, top of mind, I can assure you. We're not really at that yet where we're creating opportunities on the site, but we have been thinking about and had hoped to have the entrepreneurial training going in the community centers, but we were going to roll that out in June, and that couldn't happen because of COVID. But we did get 3 residents to sign up where we sponsored them in a virtual class, and now we're down to 2, 1 Southtown resident, 1 Section 8 voucher holder, and they're pretty excited and engaged. I know from interacting with the Southtown resident who's going through the co-starters class right now that the move has been very stressful. So just looking for a place and packing and getting moved and trying to work your job and take the entrepreneurial training from 6 to 9 on Monday nights has been a lot for her. But she's been really committed and is very excited. She got her business license, so that's anecdotal, but I feel like even though we didn't get to roll out like we really wanted to and have like at least 3 cohorts of 15 across the whole system, I feel like this has allowed us to sort of field test. First of all, is the virtual going to work? Is the curriculum relatable? And they're soaking it up and pretty excited. So that's been a good pilot, so to speak, for us. So we're excited about being able to scale that up too, so that we can help people become business owners. So we did get to partner with Ms. French on the text alert campaign by providing, graphic design services and printing services so that once we have opportunities that are being generated on the site through our activities, we can reach people and promote those activities with relative ease. And we've had a list of people we wanted to put together for a working group, and we've just kind of been waiting on the right time. We think January will be the right time to kick off our Section 3 working group and really start to plan to start to move the needle on creating economic opportunities for residents. Aside from that, we've got the master ground lease that's pending and project leases that will need to be in place so that the housing developments can go vertical. And Nolanda, she talked through the demolition bid that's in process now. So we feel pretty good, pretty optimistic. You know, it's such a tricky time in our world. So we just have to stay upbeat and optimistic and go one day at a time. So we'll be happy to have any questions at this time.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions you want to ask? And I know it's a lot of information to try to digest, but feel free to ask what you want to ask. And if you get home and you think about some other things, you know, I'm sure if you could put it in a writing form, we can get those questions to them, and they can answer them if something comes up after this meeting. Yeah,
I just have two quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, first of all, thank you all for your presentation. I'm always glad to see my sister here. So I want to say on the rezone, you said that you all need to reapply. Did you say reapply for the rezoning, or you need to apply initially, and what's the deadline for that?
Well, we're on schedule actually to file the rezoning case in December, but we didn't want to file it without coming back to update the board on the changes to the master plan, because I think the last time we really rolled out the plan was in October of 2018. And so at that time, there was no plan to keep Block A in place. I think our 60 unit was going to be on the other side of the street. So there have just been some shifts in the land use, in the configuration of the things that we hope to achieve on the site. So we've had some preliminary meetings with the city, and so we think we're fine to file in December. We've got a meeting scheduled Monday, and that will rezone it to mixed use downtown, which is what the framework plan calls for.
Okay. And you have what you need from us, from our teams.
Well, we're always working together. I mean, we're together. Christy and I talk weekly, and we're just always talking. Okay. And you know, again, they're a little short-staffed in places, and they are getting it done. So I just don't want to. I mean, I pray for them all the time. So
appreciate their service. Sure. And then I just wanted a clarifying question. I'm sorry, forgive me, I didn't catch your name, but you stated that, and I don't have the benefit of the diagram in front of me, but there was a section that you said was for office over retail, I believe.
Yes.
But I think you might have also, but none of that is housing over retail, correct?
It could be housing over retail too. It's noted on this plan as office over retail.
Okay.
But it could very well be retail or housing over retail. It just kind of depends on the market conditions at the time that develops out and whether or not it's feasible or not.
Okay.
But right now, residential in Birmingham is a little overbuilt and it needs some absorption time. So, you know, especially on market rate items.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you say that correct.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from any other board member? Go ahead, Commissioner Lewis.
I understood she said she was a little bit optimistic about the demolition. Could you kind of explain that a little bit more?
Well, I was just saying that, the schedule is, we're under a time clock, both from the SAC approval and also from the 9% low-income housing tax credit that we received. And so we're just operating in a different climate with COVID. And so we're just hopeful that we can meet all of our obligations, or that, people will be understanding if we have to, ask for extensions is basically what I was saying. We just have to take it a day at a time. Does that clear it up, Miss Lewis, or?
Not really, but we will finish this at a later date.
Tell me what you can ask me whatever it is you're thinking about.
No, at a later date, but that's good for now.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a point of clarification. On the properties or pieces that need to be acquired, is it from HABD in terms of like the pavilions and some of the other things that's stuff that we own and they're trying to acquire for the project? Or
no, I think it's some parcels that are owned by a private owner, and we're in negotiations, if I'm not mistaken. Right,
absorb them.
right.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we've been in contact with everybody around those pieces. Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, we're still in negotiations. You have some form of site control, but you just not. With the negotiations are still ongoing.
Okay. You said we have appraisals of those.
We appraised it, and we're now in negotiation with the private owners to identify, what the best cost to acquire those properties.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's in the hands of our real estate attorneys to review those documents.
Right. Okay. Very good.
I've got just a couple of questions, and thank you again for this presentation. It's really good to get an update, and I hope to see you guys back more. I think this is something we could use a little bit more often. As far as the timing goes on all this, I know you're saying you're trying to meet these deadlines, both with the tax credits and everything else. Are there any deadlines that you have coming up in the next 6 months to 12 months that you don't think you can meet right now?
I have Stephen Heidinger, who should be on the line, who's, I guess, got the strictest deadlines in terms of his compliance with the Alabama Housing Finance Authority. We've just got a lot riding on the relocation completing in the timeframes that have been, by the January 31st. That's what's showing in the schedule, and so we're hinging on that, and so we're hopeful.
And I guess that's maybe my follow-up question to that. Is there something from HABD that you need to meet these deadlines, or there are other third parties that are hindering your ability to move this process forward?
Well, Mr. Pantez, if I could step in real quick briefly, and I'm sure Ms. Foster will speak to that. One of the impediments that have arisen is that, just with the moving process, I think we had one moving company that we had procured, and then we tried to procure another moving company. We had run into some issues with HUD. They kind of gave us a little pushback on bringing on a second moving company. They asked us to go back out for bid. And I know that caused some heartache for staff, because they're trying to put the process in place to get folks moved. We're trying to bring on an additional moving company, and we get caught up in some bureaucracy here, in order to try to get folks moved. So I'll let Ms. Foster kind of piggyback or clarify. I hope I wasn't out of order, but that's kind of what I've received based on some of the impediments that we've been going through. Ms. Foster?
Yes, that's correct. When we started our relocation process, we had one moving company in place, and then we went out to do a bid for another moving company, and of course, it got rejected by HUD, and so we had to go back out. That closed this Friday, so we're looking to fill. We got other responses that can be very helpful with, because our current moving company had limited resources to complete the number of relocations that we have to encounter. But initially, when we get ready to start the relocation, the pandemic hit. So that was a huge delay on our process moving forward. And so once we was able to get past that and we started our relocation, it just kind of put us back just a little bit. But I say that our staff is working really strong and hard to get those residents moved in a timely manner. And so we spoke about, in my report, I stated how Section 8 is working with those that chose the voucher, and then housing operations working on completing some turning over some of those vacancy units, prepping them so that we can get some of those residents that chose to move to some of our other public housing sites and center sites to get them into those locations. So it's just been several things that kind of hindered us from moving forward from the beginning of time we first were supposed to start the initial relocation. But I would say that we're moving in a good place, and we're very hopeful that we'll meet the deadline and have everyone moved in what's needed.
So it sounds like we got 2.5 months and we now have a moving company that can move people. Do we have any idea of the amount, kind of what the timeline's looking like for this? I guess I'm just hearing kind of all these things in kind of isolation, so it's just difficult to tell. I mean, do we think we can make these deadlines or not? And if not, should we be planning ahead to do we need more resources, more moving companies? Where are we at right now?
Well, HABD has been in communication with SDC to identify a specific timeline to get the residents moved, and we're confident at this point to say that we can meet that deadline. Okay. And I know that earlier you asked a question about the status of the relocation, some numbers. Ms. French is here, interim VP of Support Services, can provide a summary, but I know that it's good to just see numbers. So now that we're able to assess some of our data, we can be able to get those numbers to you, even present to you for the board meeting. I can definitely get the information to you prior to the board meeting so you can have an idea of where we are with those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see something by the end of the month on what our numbers are, because if there's something else that we can help with or that needs to be done, we've got one more board meeting before things, by the January one, it would be too late. So I guess my thought is if there's something that can be done, let's do it, but we've got a tight timeline.
Yeah, but we're definitely doing everything in our power on our end that can be done to get this relocation in place. So we're confident that we can move these numbers forward, and we will meet that deadline.
Yep, and I'll say this, Commissioner, just from talking to Ms. Foster and getting correspondence from her, it looks like that the staff has done everything that they could to try to work through this process, to try to bring in another moving company that got rejected I'm not certain for what valid reason, it was just a sole source. And they felt like some other, because of a sole source, they need to go back out. So it looks like they followed all their due diligence to bring in another moving company to try to expedite the process. And I don't know what we could have done differently in that respect to, from a staff standpoint, to try to meet the deadline. When they're trying to work really hard on their end, and then they run into resistance for what reason I'm not saying. I don't know what could be done, what else could have been done to move it forward.
And initially, we encouraged residents not to move themselves because we wanted to ensure that they're accommodated. But a lot of them are pretty eager, so at this point we do allow them, because some of them have capacity to get moving companies on their own to move to some of their locations. So we just reimburse them. So at this point we're allowing them to do that so that we won't hinder the relocation process. But when we get those numbers, we can put some comfort level to you, Commissioner Fantastis, to ensure that we're moving diligently.
And I appreciate that, and I know you guys will fill us in, and I'm less concerned about what's occurred and more concerned about making sure you have everything you need moving forward, and that all parties do. My only other question about the report, and again, thank you everybody for all the information, is there anywhere that particularly with some of the newer revisions, is there anywhere that the public can access all these documents so that they can be kept abreast of the developments and the progress?
It's not presently on our website. We didn't want to get ahead of the board, but we're happy to put them on the SDC website. We could possibly provide a link on the HABD website as well, but I think we can work with Sharia and come up with a way to make them available.
And also we do, Commissioner Fantastic, we put out monthly newsletters to the residents to update them on where we are moving forward. So they're being abreast.
And that's good. Yeah, I would love to see a link or something, and obviously, within our overall marketing strategy. But this is an exciting development and central to Birmingham. So I would hope that we at least, it's been going on for a while. So I think it's important for everybody to kind of know what the status is.
Yes, so we can definitely put the links out for visual viewing for the residents and the public as well.
Ms. Foster, this is Sharia Harris Turner. Can I speak really quickly to add something to that?
If it's the pleasure of the chair.
Yes, proceed. Yeah.
Yeah, just really quickly, I wanted to make sure Commissioner Pantasis knew that there is a website that our partners designed when we were in the process of the communication strategy. That task order has ended, but they created a website solely for Southtown Court engagement with our residents. So that's, if you want to write it down, it's habd360.org, habd360.org. And we've been using that and sharing that website a lot through this process. And it has so much stuff. All things Southtown Court redevelopment is on this website. Frequently asked questions. It may not be the latest. We had the latest work plan that we had when we were developing this website. So it's the work plan, the schedule. It's a lot of stuff on there. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware that we had a website specifically for the Southtown redevelopment.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I had seen it. I just want to make sure we've got everything, as updated as possible. That's good information too, though.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct. Thank you, Ms. Turner. I forgot about that link here.
No problem. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. Are there any questions? No concerns. And so I guess we got a game plan
Yes, sir.
together, and maybe we can have a subsequent review or report maybe in the next couple of months or so after we get past the first of the year. You guys can come back and share some updates with us. We know it's a tough time, and we understand that. I know even on the, not just with the resident side, but, trying to attract, retail clients and things. Trust me, I get it more than you know. And so I understand what you're going through. And so, we just want to be able to be a good partner with you guys, work with you through these tough times. And we feel like that 2021 is going to be a better year for everybody. And we just look forward to great things for 2021. Absolutely. Did we want to get any information from Ms. French, or is that we're going to get that at a later date, right?
So,
as far as the numbers.
I know Commissioner Fantastic requested some numbers, so she can give a summary, or if you'd like to wait until next month to get the full data report, it's at his pleasure.
Yeah, if we can just get something right and provide that, because I understand you spoke about some of the challenges you guys have been going through with your documents and being able to pull things with our system being compromised. So you get a pass today. You get a pass, and you get some grace today. Yeah. We'll just get, we can just provide that in some type of written form, and we'll appreciate that.
Yes, sir, we'll do.
Yeah. All right. So we're down to a person's desire to speak before the board. Does anybody wish to speak before the board today? If you're on the call, we're going to allow you the opportunity to speak before the board. Going once, going twice. All right, hearing none. I think that Mrs. Foster, is there anything else that needs to come before this board?
No, sir, we're good.
Okay. All right, if I could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
That's been moved and probably second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned.